Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. I am super excited about this episode. So I am recording this after the end of the first week of the release of the EntreMD Method book. Amazing book, amazing reviews we've had come in, and it was such a beautiful journey. We pushed the book really hard. I'm so grateful for everyone listening who bought a copy, who shared about it on social media, who convinced friends to get it, who got copies for their friends, who wrote reviews and all of that, because you made this a best-selling book. It was a bestseller on Amazon, #1 bestseller from the day it was released until the end of the first week. As we speak, it is still a #1 bestseller in 5 different categories. And I was totally blown away. I'm so proud of the book. I'm so proud of the tsunami of change that it's creating. And I'm so grateful we get to do this together. You are the leaders of the EntreMD movement. And together we are going to create a world where doctors are the leaders of the healthcare space inside and outside the exam room, a world where doctors have unprecedented levels of career satisfaction, and a world where doctors have financial freedom. That is what we're creating. And the book is really a tool to do that. I call it the $16 MBA for doctors. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So at the end of the first week, we stayed on #1 bestseller. We had 57 reviews, and all of them were 5-star reviews except one. And we had a little over 800 copies sold. And why am I sharing this with you? Because I live as an example of what is possible for physicians. This is the truth and nothing but the truth. And so I kind of wanted to take you behind the scenes, what I did for this to happen, what the team did. And so that when you want to do something, and for you, it may not be a book. It may be you're launching a podcast, or you are launching a YouTube channel or a blog, or you're launching a private practice, or you're launching a new vertical in your already existing business, or you're ready to scale, right? And so you're doing a relaunch. So there's so many applications for this, but I really wanted you to get a feel for how we can do this, because doctors, we are at a space where, like never before, we are going to own our voices. We are going to own our results. We are going to own our success. And there are things we need to do to make it happen. Okay. So I'm going to share with you, actually, it's about 11 things, right? Like this is a full-on masterclass. Okay. But I guess it's my gift to the community for all the support. Okay. And if you're hearing like, man, but I haven't supported yet. Once we get off this, go buy your copy, go buy copies for the doctors in your life. If you're listening, I have a lot of listeners who are non-physicians. You're like, wow, first of all, the book will apply to you. So go get your copy. And then doctors, right? You put it in their hands too. Okay. All right. So let's get into these things. Let's get into these 11 things that are part of the bestseller book launch plan. Okay. All right. So number one is I shared about the book the entire time I wrote the book to create awareness. The first mention of the book was not when it went live at all. Okay. So when I picked out the cover, I said, hey, I'm owning it. I'm writing a book. It's coming your way in spring of 2022. When I got the cover, I was like, beautiful. Look at the, cover we chose for the book. And people were like, yay. And when I finally got it off to the editors, I'm like, yeah, the manuscript has gone to the editors. And, I can't wait to get it in your hands. And, so I kept my community aware of the journey. So I did this mostly through social media. So on my Facebook page and the private Facebook group for EntreMD and some other groups, just, sharing the process. One is to create awareness. And the other, again, is to be an example of what's possible. Because remember, just by being, you inspire other people, right? And that's why we live out loud. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I created a launch team. So now this was closer to when the book was going to be released. I created a launch team. There were 88 people in the group, mostly physicians, 99% physicians. And the people on the launch team had agreed to buy a copy, write a review, and share about it, right? So there's social media and then one-on-one and all of that. So they're going to buy a copy, write a review, share it on social media. They got an advance copy, so they're able to read it before the book was officially released. And so I had that team, and big shout out to the entire team because they went all out. They purchased their copies. They wrote reviews, and they shared about it relentlessly. And I'm so grateful to the entire team. And so if you're listening and you are on the team, big shout out to you. You're the real MVPs here. So that's number two. Number three, I posted about it after the book went live. So this was March 1st. I posted about it every single day. Every single day. I did it twice a day. And so it would be either I would post, hey, it's live. I would post a review that, somebody posted. I would reshare something promotional that somebody posted and all of that, right? And so twice a day I was posting. My platforms are Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'm not on TikTok per se, and I'm not really on Twitter per se. So I use those three, but I went all out and I was shooting for about twice a day. Instagram, I really use the stories, which is just, pictures of, reviews, the book, again, resharing stories that people had shared and tagged us on. The hashtag for it was EntreMD book. And so I did that. And I did that every single day from the date it was released. The fourth thing I did was I was a guest on a lot of podcasts. I want to say about 10, maybe 6 of those went live the week of the release. I have many others that I've recorded that will keep going out. And that's another thing. Your book launch, product launch, podcast launch, it's not week long. You want to start with a bang, but you're going to keep promoting it, right? So that's what I did. So I had 10 podcasts. And so 10 podcasts, and I was also a guest in 3 Facebook groups where the audiences were physicians. And so I went on there, did an interview style thing with the host of the group, and then answered questions and all of that and talked about the book. So that was really good. So I did that. I did that in 3 groups. And then, so one of the groups was Savvy Doc. So big shout out to Dr. Chiagozie Fowle, and the other one was Doctors Out of Debt. So big shout out to Dr. Carolyn Clarisme, right? And those were some of the ones I did. Okay, so, and I was on a number of podcasts like Physician Non-Clinical Careers by Dr. John Jurica, the Boss Podcast Business of Surgery series by Dr. Amy Vertrees. I was on the MoneyFit MD podcast by Dr. Latifat Akintade, the Stress Free MD podcast by Dr. Robin Tiger, and I could go on and on and on. So many different podcasts to get the word out about the book. Okay. And so I did that, and big shout out to all of them. And you should check out their podcast too. All right. So the fifth thing I did is I had a list of 20 physician influencers who would share the book with others. Okay. So I reached out to a number of my friends who have audiences, and they volunteered to share it with their communities as well, which made a huge difference. Number 6, I shared about it in Facebook groups. Now, again, you've listened to my episode about how to show up in Facebook groups. So this is Facebook groups where it would be acceptable, where it would be considered as a value add, not, you pitching when you shouldn't. And so I shared about it in those Facebook groups. I shared about it in the EntreMD Facebook group. Okay. So I did it there. And then number 7, I emailed my email list twice about it. So, or maybe 3 times. First to say it's coming, and then, hey, this is a release date. And then the third day, the Kindle, I had a promotion. The Kindle version was $1.99 for the first week. And I'm like, that's about to expire. So I emailed my mailing list about it. So that's number 7. Number 8, to the podcast. So the EntreMD podcast and the Doctors Changing Medicine podcast, it had a pre-roll saying, hey, this is the book, the EntreMD method. It's available for purchase now, and all of that stuff. So every single episode started off with that so people would know about it. Number 9, and this is all within 1 week, mind you. Number 9, I hosted a book signing and I made it loud. So the book came out on March the 1st, which is a Tuesday. And then I did a book signing on March the 5th, which was a Saturday. And so it was, for local people, I'm thinking. And I was going to have the doctors in Atlanta come in, have a good time. We get a book signed, take pictures, all of that. And it was a really, really great event. And I made it loud. I talked about it a lot. I posted pictures as we were getting ready for it and all of that. Of course, to my shock, when we started it, not halfway into it, like after the event had just started, my 2 friends, Dr. Latifat Akintade of MoneyFit MD and Dr. Chiagoze Faule of Savvy Docs, they showed up. Okay. Dr. Akintade is in California. Dr. Faule is from New York, and they flew in for the book signing. That was just beyond amazing. Beyond amazing. I'm so grateful. So I did a book signing. And of course, after that, shared pictures, and all of that. Again, it's all about creating awareness. Remember, 80% of the people who would love to work with you, who would love to buy your book, who would love to subscribe to your podcast and all of that, they have no idea you exist. And so our job is to keep putting ourselves out there so they can find us, right? Number 10, I hosted a virtual book signing on the day of release. And that was on Facebook. And I did it on my business page and then shared it to a few, my group and my page and stuff like that. And so I did that, I just got on, talked about the book, shared what had happened with the book so far, why I wrote it and things like that. So that's number 10. Number 11, I tapped on my non-physician friends and families. Now, why did I do that? If we do not fix what is going on in the physician community, we will be facing a health crisis of ridiculous proportions. Ridiculous, right? And so I thought this is not just a problem that will affect physicians. This is a problem that will affect all of us. And so I tapped into them for 2 reasons. One is that business principles are business principles. Of course, it is filtered through the lens of a physician, and the speech is filtered for physicians, but the principles are the same, right? And so I'm like, you guys own businesses. This will be great for you. But beyond that, I'm like, you have doctors in your life, and I may not be able to reach them because I don't know them. They're not in my circle, but guess who is? You are. And so we call them physician allies. And it's so beautiful. They type on, they put their hashtag physician ally. They are physician allies, and they are putting the book in the hands of other physicians. Okay. And so those were the 11 things that I did. And I did that in the first week to create the result that we saw. Okay. Now, I posted about some of these things in the EntreMD Business School. I was going to create a podcast out of it anyway, but I started sharing it there. And I made a statement that I want to tell you. Okay. Because you might be going, you shouldn't take all that. Or you may be thinking, if I write a really good book, it will sell itself. And so I made a statement. I said, writing a book well makes it a best written book. Selling a book well makes it a best-selling book. Okay? And I'm going to say that again. Writing a book well makes it a best-written book. Selling a book well makes it a best-selling book. Don't confuse the two. Okay? Writing it well is not going to make it a bestseller. Selling it well is not going to make it a best-written. All right? So to do a good book, you want to do both. You want to write to the best of your ability and you want to promote to the best of your ability, right? So if you want to get a book that will get in the hands of people and people will enjoy it, it needs to be written well and sold well. Okay? All right. So I want you to take a moment to think about it. Like, what is the application for me? Where am I not promoting? Where am I a little entitled, thinking if I have something good, people should just come get it? That's a little bit of entitlement because that's not the way this works. Okay. So where am I being a little entitled? Where do I need to put myself out there? Where am I telling myself I'm working too hard, but really I'm not? My marketing efforts, am I really doing the things that matter? Am I doing the things that are comfortable and leaving the things that are uncomfortable, but have the highest return on investment? Because if you think about it, because you might be saying, I know, but, right? If you had to share about your book the entire time you're writing it, you may have thoughts like, well, that's just me bragging, or that's me, talking about myself too much, and that's bad. And that thought may have stopped you, right? But what if you don't let it stop you anymore? What becomes possible for you? You may have reached out to a launch team and said, hey, you'll buy the book, you review the book, you share the book, and you have to keep encouraging them to do it. And you may start feeling like I'm bothering people, right? And if you allow that thought to sit, it will stop you from building a launch team. You may think, oh, I'm posting about it twice on social media every day. People are getting annoyed. When is too much, and all of that. Again, that thought will stop you. And remember, only 6 to 12% of the people that are part of your universe see what you post anyway, right? And so you can't allow it to stop you. And the truth of the matter is, I want you to think about your life right now, this moment. There is some pain you have right now that if somebody posted about a book and you saw it and it was a book that addressed that pain, they will love you forever. So remember, when you're posting, you're not posting for the people who will be annoyed and like, I don't care about this book. You're posting for the people who are actually looking for it, but don't know you exist. Talk to them twice a day. And I'm not saying post twice a day, every day. I'm just saying that you're going to have to show up a lot, and you don't want that thought to stop you, right? If you had to be a guest on 10 podcasts, you could have all kinds of thoughts around that. They're not 10 podcasts. I don't want to ask them about them. What if they say no? Right? What if I don't know what to say? And all of that. Those thoughts could have stopped you. It could have stopped you. You could have decided, I don't want to do a virtual launch. They've heard enough about it. I don't want to do a book signing. What if nobody comes? I don't want to talk to non-physicians. They may say it doesn't matter to them. There's so many things that could be thought about this. But if you would dare the fears, if you look for alternate thoughts that will serve you, then you'll be able to really, really promote what you do, which is what is required for you to go from best kept secret to household name. Nobody really accidentally gets there. Okay. Now, having said that, I want to ask you to do 3 things with the EntreMD Method book. Okay. 3 things. The first thing is, I want you to buy the book. If you haven't bought it yet, I want you to buy the book. Why? I wrote this book because we did not get a business education. We don't have the time to spend 2 more years in an MBA, and we don't have another 6-figure education budget for an MBA, right? And so I wrote a book that is full of classics. These are things that worked decades ago. These are things that work decades from now. Broke it down to the simplest, like, how can I go from I'm just a doctor, I don't really know business, to somebody who is like, I got this off the floor, it's set up to be profitable, and I know how to market it as a professional physician I am, and all of that, right? It's set up that way. So I call it the $16 MBA for physicians. I want you to get your MBA, okay? So that's the first thing, buy the book. The second thing is be an example. Be an example. One of the things that's happening in the physician community is that we do not have enough examples of what is possible. So when doctors find themselves stuck, they think that's the only way it can be. When doctors find themselves not being able to build profitable businesses, they feel that's the way it should be. They can't build a great team. They feel that's the way it should be. The more of us who are examples of what is possible, the more we normalize this new reality for physicians. Okay, so this is a responsibility of every physician. Be an example of what is possible. And so what that means is don't just get the book, but then read the book. Don't just read the book, but read it to do something different. Okay? You may not be able to take all the steps, but there's 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps that you can say, okay, I'm going to do this. Start from that. Every time somebody launches a podcast, they're an example of what's possible. Launch a business example. Someone is like, yay, I hit 7 figures in revenue. When we do that, we are changing the narrative. When we negotiate like a boss in our jobs. So that's what we need. We need examples. Okay? Examples of what is possible. So number 1, buy the book. Number 2, be an example. Number 3, buy the book for someone else. Okay. Big shout out. There's so many people, even at the book signing, who came in, who bought 10 copies. There are people who bought 20 copies. There are people who are going to buy for their residency program. The doctor is in there. So many things. Buy copies for the doctors in your life. Okay. Why? Because the real goal of the EntreMD Method book is not just about book sales. It's not just about book reviews. It's not just about #1 bestseller on Amazon. These are all means to an end. The end is to change the narrative for physicians. The end is to give 100,000 doctors a business education. The end of it is to change the narrative for the physician community. We are done having no autonomy. We are done having businesses that don't work. We are done believing the lie that we're not good business people. We're not good with money. We can't do that. No, we're done with all of that. This is a new day. This is a new era, and this is the vehicle to do that. So I want to invite you to be a part of this movement. Buy your book, be the example, and buy the book for others. Okay? And together, we're going to create that whole new reality. I'm so excited about it. I cannot wait for us to look back on this time and say, my goodness, do you remember the time when doctors had to go through that? Because we are changing that. Okay. So thank you so much for listening. Share this episode, and I will see you on the very next episode. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to entremd.com/on-demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.